Welcome. Today we will discuss the latest USDA mortgage requirements for 2018. Homebuyers that have questions about the program are encouraged to reach out to us by calling 1-800-691-8826 or simply visiting USDAMortgageHub.com. We do serve homebuyers 7 days a week in all 50 states. First and foremost, we're going to discuss the USDA loan highlights. The program, the main draw for the USDA Rural Housing Loan is that, of course, it is 100% financing in select rural eligible locations. The good news is that many locations outside of major cities, even many suburbs, are still considered rural. Many single-family homes, townhomes and condominiums in these eligible locations are approved. It's important to remember that the USDA program is not exclusively reserved for only certain homes that are being sold by a certain seller. It's for any property that is physically located in one of these USDA eligible areas, regardless of who is selling the home. It can be a private seller, it can be listed with any real estate company on the MLS, or it can even be a distressed sale. As long as the property is physically located in a USDA approved eligible location and the property meets the basic HUD standards regarding safety and livability, the property is generally okay. Most of the HUD standards are followed by really all the government loan programs like USDA, FHA, and VA home loans as well. Not only is the program 100% financing, but USDA also allows additional flexibility in regards to closing costs. The closing cost can be paid by the home seller, and or the buyer can roll in the closing cost into their loan, assuming they have a higher supporting appraised value. An example is, let's say you're a home buyer and you're purchasing a home that is $100,000 and you need $5,000 for your closing cost and your prepaid tax and insurance escrows. In this case, you could roll in the $5,000 into your loan as long as the home appraises for at least $105,000. All home buyers are welcome to apply for the program. It's not exclusive for just first-time home buyers. So any home buyer, even move-up buyers, can apply for the USDA Rural Development Loan. There is no purchase price limits, no loan amount limits with this program. Buyers simply qualify based on their debt-to-income ratios. Since there's debt-to-income ratio limits, like all loan programs, and there's also household income limitations for the program, that kind of naturally reduces the high loan amounts with the program. Low monthly mortgage insurance, or PMI, private mortgage insurance, is what most people know that term as. With the USDA loan, it's much lower when compared to a comparable FHA loan or a conventional loan that has less than a 20% down payment. USDA mortgage insurance is pretty cheap in that regard. There's a couple of steps first that we want to talk about regarding the eligibility and then also the qualifying. There's two different components, the eligibility factors and then the qualifying factors. First, with eligibility, there's two critical components with the USDA program. It's first, the USDA approved location. The house has to be located, again, in a designated rural eligible location. And homebuyers can simply visit our website at USDAMortgageHub.com to check the links for the map to be able to input addresses and check again to see if a property is eligible. And many homebuyers are surprised to learn exactly what is still considered rural for the program. There's also household income limits that apply. And this applies to anyone that's living in the house. This is an important thing. Not only the applicants on the mortgage application, but again, anyone that lives in the house that generates income even if they're not on the loan. So that is important to remember. If you have maybe a elderly parent that lives in the home, as one example, and let's say they receive Social Security income each month, that would have to be also included to determine the eligibility as far as income. Now, the income limits is important that this does apply. It's really the gross income of the household, so that's important to remember. And really what they're looking at is the current income up to the closing date, not the income beyond the closing date. Again, buyers can check the income calculator at the website, and it's based on the size of the household. For generally, through most parts of the country, the household income limitation for a family of 1 to 4 is about $78,000, and then it can go significantly higher depending on, again, if there's 5 or more members in the household, and depending on the location. If the property is in a more expensive location of, let's say, California or somewhere in the Northeast, some of those income limits go way beyond $100,000 a year. So again, there's a little calculator that will help you determine, based on the size of the family, it'll go through all the checks there to determine if you're eligible for the 502 guaranteed program. There's 2 versions of the USDA loan. There's the USDA Direct program and then the 502 guarantee program. And the guarantee program is the one that allows for the higher income. Second step is to determine the loan qualifying. Just like any other loan, really is, do you meet the qualifying requirements? USDA has these standards in place, just like an FHA loan or a conventional loan would, and it's all relatively the same. Credit score, income documentation, and job history, those are generally the most important factors. Most lenders and banks will want to see a minimum 620 credit score. It's important to remember that that does not automatically guarantee loan approval, as there are additional restrictions in place for any home buyer or any applicant that has had a financial hardship, recent financial hardship in the generally previous 4 or 5 years. So there are other restrictions in place for that. Income documentation simply means just a 2-year history of documentation and a solid job history. We'll look more in the next slide on that. During the loan application process, again, employment history for the last 2 years, and the income amount and the duration. These are the basic questions. The application is very simple. It's generally a 15-minute process, and most of the information that's going to be requested from you will be basic information that you already have memorized. So there's no reason for people to be intimidated by this process at all. It's very quick, easy, and again, most of the information are things you'll already know by heart. Like living and rental history, your living history for the previous 2 years, your addresses, how long you lived there, pretty simple. Banking and asset information, who do you do your banking with? What are the approximate account balances? Retirement accounts, maybe IRA or 401k accounts. That's information you'd want to get to as well to your loan specialist. And then again, basic things like your Social Security number, your date of birth, again, things you have memorized. For loan processing, once you have finished your application, and as far as processing your loan file, you will need, again, basic things that you probably already have, 2 years of your most recent tax returns and or W-2s if you're a regularly employed borrower, and then your last 3 months of pay stubs and bank statements. Also a copy of your most recent retirement account statements, if that applies to you. Copy of your ID or driver's license. Again, basic things. Loan approval, once you go through the process of providing the information on the application and then providing your paperwork, the loan pre-approval process will be, your loan officer will go through that process with you and explain your pre-approval, talk about the amount that you're pre-approved for, talk about the expense obligation, and go through the numbers in detail of what you can expect. And then they'll issue a pre-approval letter to you at that point. It's generally valid for 3 or 4 months, and from that point forward, you can go searching for the perfect home. For home buyers that have any questions or need more information about the USDA loan program, again, visit our website. It's loaded with great information and blogs and more videos that are updated frequently. That's at USDAmortgagehub.com, or simply call us at 1-800-691-8826. Thank you for listening.